we are now recording.
We are now recording.
Yeah.
So there's some artwork that came up on the screen from the Consider the Source page.
Biggie bam, I can pull that up.
That would be really cool. It's on that slider right there.
Yeah, hold on.
It's just like almost like cartoon art.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am.
We're about to show them. Who did that artwork?
So that's an artist that we've been working with for a long time.
The heat is on.
The heat is on. Yep, that's Nate McLennan. His name is. Incredibly talented artist.
Yeah.
He does pretty much exclusively this sort of thing where it's, these cartoon, like animated style things, but they get really intense, like Escher-esque in complexity.
Yeah.
And we've known him for a long time. He actually started off as a student of mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, playing bass, and he was so funny. He mentioned that he was an artist, and I was like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll check out your art someday. Yeah, it'll be cool.
And he also, in addition to shredding on bass,
Yeah,
he shreds an art.
No, he's very good guitarist and bass player. They really are. But yeah, eventually he showed me his artwork, and then we kind of folded it into the band after a point, and now he travels with us. He's our merch guy and our artist. Awesome. He doesn't do our album artwork. We have rotating people that we'll use. Right. So he's never done an album for us, but pretty much all of our shirts, the hot sauce that we have, he did the artwork for that.
Oh, okay.
This is on the hot sauce label.
It's great because it almost has like a Adventure Time, Rick and Morty, but also like traditional tattoo thing going on.
Sure.
With like some of the shading. It's very cool.
Yeah,
very, very trippy.
No, he's very talented. Very talented.
So he hates doing mushrooms, is what you're saying.
He hates them. Yeah. And he didn't accidentally do them last weekend at a show.
How do you? I mean, I know how you accidentally do it. Jody knows.
Well, I guess the podcast has started, guys. I am Jody, and this is Mark. We are the
Bass Nerds.
And today we welcome John Ferrera of, I'm saying that last name right, correctly.
Ferrara, but I don't think anyone really says the right way, so it's okay. Wow.
I think it's it's, I'm willing to bet that you and John Herrera often get mixed up. Mm-hmm. Like in conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, someone once wrote in an interview Herrera instead of Ferrara.
Yeah.
So,
Both awesome bass players, both easy on the eyes.
There you go.
Both great conversationalists, both shred balls at bass.
Shredding at the bass. Well, so John and I go way back. We've done some video work many years ago. You guys did a cover of God Only Knows by the Beach Boys that I think is still one of the best covers, reimaginations of a song I've ever heard.
Thanks,
John is a Fodera endorsing artist, a Hartke endorsing artist.
It's actually Fodera. Sorry.
My bad. Fodera endorsing artist. As well as some other products. But you're in a band, Consider Source, that's been around for a long time, kind of a psychedelic jam band, I guess, maybe? How would you label?
So it's funny, we were kind of adopted by the jam scene early in our career.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of improvising and all that, and it's a very accepting scene, which is great. I guess we identify a little bit more with prog and jazz fusion.
Okay.
Like we're not.
You're not like a Fish or something like the traditional stereotypical jam band for sure.
Yeah.
Tradish like Fish.
Fish. It's definitely a lot more like progressive, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And anybody who's seen the videos and stuff that you guys do, like lots of shredding involved. Gabe, the guitar player, has a double neck guitar with a fretless on one and 6-string on the other, and just does like a lot of Middle Eastern kind of guitar vibes, and it's a trio.
And stuff.
I really like the Radiohead stuff you guys do too. Like they do like an acoustic Radiohead. Is it like a whole album thing, right? Where you do like the whole album?
Not the whole album. We'll kind of span the whole catalog, and just pick the ones that we think are. What we did was we picked the ones that we thought were most aligned with what we kind of naturally do anyway.
Right.
Ones that are in 5 and 7 and stuff like that. 15 step,
Yeah.
And then which ones we felt we can. Make really sing, really, do with the three of us that would make most sense.
Right. And So like like I said, John and I go way back, and we did some video stuff a long time. We've done a couple actual different. We did some Consider the Store stuff originally early on, and then you came through again a few years later, and we shot that video with you and Seth.
That's right.
Are you guys still doing stuff?
We haven't played together in a while. We do have a whole second album recorded that we're just kind of sitting on. So.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, since the pandemic and all that, I actually moved down to North Carolina for a good chunk of that, and then when we came back, CTS started doing stuff again, and I started getting more into my solo material and in a new project I'm working on. So,
which is Mono Means One.
Mono Means One. Do either of you get that reference? I always ask.
Well, I know what mono means. It means one.
It just sure does mean one.
There's any...
Are we about to throw some shade? Because he's my buddy.
Yeah. Are we talking Mono Neon?
Yeah.
Oh no, nothing. No, it's nothing to do with him. No, it's.
I was gonna flip this table.
No, he's a badass. It's Simpsons reference from the monorail episode. Yeah. Mono means one and rail means rail. Since for 10 or 15 years, I've wanted to name a project that.
That's so great.
And so I'm very excited about it. I'm excited for the music too, whatever. But the name. Now that I can use the name. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this podcast because you're just like doing so much stuff, and
I'm kind of curious on this, like, sort of. I guess it speaks to me the whole jam band scene, like finding your way and into that. The jam band scene is it's interesting. Like I that's what I came up on when I was like 14 and wanted to play every note ever. Yep. There's an appeal to like fast playing and like exciting playing and like just like very talented musicians, and I think that's why there's always been this undercurrent of like prog. Like if you listen to a lot of the stuff that Fish does, they do a lot of odd time signatures. Sure. I love watching John Fishman play drums. Like
it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. So good. Like even the other day, my buddy he's like, "Hey, Dave Matthews Band." I'm like, "Yeah, I love him. I love Dave Matthews Band. I know I like listening to metal and shit. I love DMB." And he was like, "You know why you love DMB?" And I was just like, because they're all great musicians. Like, why?" And he's just like, "Because they're folk Tool." And I couldn't.
Okay.
And I immediately went to listen to like a few of their songs, and I'm like, "Fuck, he's right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's folk Tool."
And so like there's that progression. Like nature. I'm thinking of Dave's songs and like 41 and a lot of
Rapunzel.
These, right.
Yeah.
And Satellite. That like
yeah.
It's
if you put like Danny Carey's drums to it, it's there. Right. So it's no surprise that Consider the Source would dominate that. But like where did that whole thing start?
Yeah, so when we started playing, it was very organic. It was just, we would play, we would jam together, we would write. At first, it was just, improvising, and then sometime later, we started bringing full-on compositions to the table and then playing them. And then we really just took any gig we could for like a couple of years. We're from New York City, so it was, loft parties. We were playing literally people's kitchens. They were having house parties.
Those are the best.
They were. They really were great. So over a couple of years of doing that, we started developing a little bit of a fan base, and then we started booking more actual venues, no longer kitchens. And we started trying to get out of town a little bit. This is back in the MySpace days. So we would go and we try to contact other bands and other venues. Actually, Reggie's Music Joint here in Chicago, that was one of the first places out of town. I remember calling them up and just cold calling them.
To Ellie? Or was it?
No, maybe her name was it Amy, maybe? It was a long time ago. It was 10 or 15 years ago. And she picked up and she said, I said, I'm in a band. We're really trying to get out of town. We don't have a draw in Chicago. It's our first time. We'll play for just some food, whatever. She's like, I don't know. Are you cute?
That sounds like Elle.
And I was like,
that sounds like literally every employee at Reggie's. Yeah. I love that place.
Yeah. So I lied and I said yes. And
lying right now.
And there you go. And then booked us right then and there.
Nice.
And then that was it. That was our first play in Chicago.
Nice.
But anyway, I digress. So eventually we started getting asked to play these festivals. So there was a few of them in the Northeast, and we were like, festival? What's that about? We're like we grew up listening to classical, jazz, metal,
Yeah.
rock, you know. We never listened to jam bands. We never heard them. And at the time, this was me and Gabe and our original drummer, Justin. So our current drummer, Jeff, huge Fish fan, huge jam band fan in general.
Yeah.
But at that time, none of us knew anything about the jam scene.
Right.
Yeah.
We knew of Grateful Dead. That was about it.
Yeah.
So when we started playing these festivals, we realized that like not only was there like a massive audience at these in this scene, but they were very accepting, very welcoming, and even though we do something very left of center, they appreciated it. Not everyone in the jam scene does, but more than any other scene that we had, you know, kind of dabbled in, played in front of. Yeah. They really took to us. So we said, okay, well, this is working. Let's keep doing it. So even though we don't identify as that, it's like, cool. If you guys are digging it, this is a great scene to be in. You know, and like I remember being in high school and being in metal bands and playing metal shows. And I remember I was in a metal band, but then we played a death metal show. And the death metal crowd was like, oh, you guys, you're not heavy enough, this and that. And I'm like, oh, all right. Well, I mean, I like death metal. I mean, why don't you like us? So there's a lot of scenes that were a little bit more like you only did that. Right. You're only into that, and it wasn't cool to really listen to anything else or to admit that you were. Right. So in the jam scene, it's not like that. You can listen to whatever, and it's cool. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you got into like you all came in at a really, really opportune time, like in like 2008,
right before everything like blows up, and then it becomes so like oversaturated.
Well, the beauty of the jam band scene. Like I'm far removed from that myself, but just watching it from afar for so many years, it's all word of mouth. Like a lot of it is word of mouth, or organic growth, and that like there's just not as much space for that as I'm guessing there used to be. So again, like getting in around 2008, 2009, you have a whole like slew of bands like Humphreys McGee. There's this quartet, and I can't remember their name. They start with an R. It's like initials. Rack.
Yeah.
Like they would be like around that time. That's sort of like them really on the rise, and they have a very like strong musicality to them, and like
great players, and the members. I don't know that they're still playing. They might have reformed and are occasionally doing shows now.
That's cool.
But the members of the bands have all branched out and done other projects. Yeah. And they're still kicking. They're still like doing great and playing great.
Yeah. So what was the first big festival?
I think our first one was one called Strange Creek. It's one in the Northeast in Massachusetts. Okay. And ever since that first one, we've done every single year since.
Wow. Is that a Max Creek festival?
Yeah.
Max Creek?
Yeah.
Man, that's like another like
what you're talking about.
80s jam band. That's where they kind of like built their name, like Grateful, like doing like the 80s Dead thing, and they just kept going.
Yeah. And you know, they it just so happens that we always play right before them at this particular festival.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, or during it, but it's like it's always right around the same time as them.
Yeah, it's
on a different stage.
And that's a nice difference in sound. That there is like it is taboo, like, or not taboo, or sometimes like in whatever, so like social circles, that like the idea of jam bands is passe. I mean, Kyle Kinane just released a hilarious bit
I
yesterday
shared it.
about jam bands.
Right.
and it's
I have to hear that. I love Kyle Kinane.
a fan of him for so long, I'm like, yep, that's totally accurate, and I love it because there's no like among the musicians. I and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel a sense of pretension.
Right.
There.
Yeah, everybody's really accepting.
Yeah.
Right?
It's much less, you know, any scene will have some of it, but it's like, you know, of any scene that I've been a part of or even peripherally a part of, like it's much more supportive, but it's nice.
Then there's the other side of the curtain, and there's like the fish lot.
Yeah. So I haven't
talk about the lot.
I haven't experienced the fish lot. So Jeff, our drummer, he's experienced it.
Yeah.
He loves fish, so the whole culture, he knows about it and everything. And me and Gabe, we kind of know about it just through vicariously through him and through our fans.
The fish lot.
You please explain.
Well, yeah, you might be able to better, but what I'll so it's kind of like the massive pre-party to any
Okay.
Fish show, but a lot of people, they're one of the main bands where people will travel around and just see
Right.
them everywhere and
For sure.
mortgage
they
their
do a
house or whatever they need to do
Different
to.
set list every night.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
couple friends who are heavy, and we're going to see these 3 shows back to back to back, type of thing. And they'll play Alpine Valley or whatever for 3 days, and they'll see all the shows or travel
Yeah.
or whatever. And
Yeah. A funny thing about this scene, so not just with Fish, but people go on Umphrey's tour and stuff like
Sure.
that. We heard recently someone said like, "Oh yeah, like I'm not that big of an Umphrey's fan. I've probably just seen him like 30 times or something." Like what? It's just
amongst
but
Humphrey fans, he might be, not that heavy into him, right? Like,
yeah.
it's like-
No, I mean I have a friend who 10 years ago had already seen them 130 times.
Wow.
I don't know what he's up to now, but
God, I remember the first time I heard them. I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my brother and I were walking around in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where we grew up. And we're walking to my brother's car, and we just happened to see this like cool looking guitar just sitting out in the back seat of somebody's car. We're just sort of gawking at it. And I'm sure from afar it looked like we were like, trying to break in, but we were just admiring this really cool looking guitar. But we took a step back, and then these 2 guys came out, and they were like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we're just like, "Oh, we're just admiring the really cool guitar." My brother is a big guitar nerd as well. Dummy. But then they start, we start talking music and stuff, and they're like, "Well, have you heard Humphreys McGee?" And we're like, "Oh no, who are they?" And they're like, "Oh, dude." And then like they pulled out a bootleg CD, and they're like, just take this, put it on, you're welcome. And like 13, 14 years old, you hear that shit for the first time,
Right,
And at
it's
this
a new
point, they're
thing.
like still a Chicago bar band,
yeah, right.
And we're just like, "What the fuck? This is amazing!" And they just have gotten better. Like with all the years. So back to the Fish lot. They refer to the lot as basically the party happens in the parking lot. Yeah, in the parking lot. There's like a whole row of vendors, which is known as Shakedown Street.
All
It's a
right.
Grateful Dead reference.
Okay.
I love that we're educating Jody on
Yeah,
the jam band scene.
Well, so I don't know if I've ever mentioned this story.
There's a
on
lot
the
of vendors,
podcast.
by the way. Just FYI.
Okay. My uncle was a big Deadhead. Saw Jerry whatever number of times. Big into psychedelic stuff like that. And him and a childhood friend decided that they had done some traveling with the Dead. I'm sure parking lot traveling. I'm sure. And they decided how do we make this sustainable? How do we afford to do this? So his childhood buddy came from they own like a Greasy Spoon restaurant at the when they were in their my uncle would have been probably in his mid to late 20s or something like
I know where
that.
this is going.
And they were like, well, let's buy a food trailer. We'll travel with the Dead, and we'll be one of these vendors in the lot, and we're gonna make psychedelic grilled cheeses.
Yep. That's exactly
Which
it.
was basically they would make bread with food coloring to make it kind of tie-dye,
Yeah.
right? And then they would sell these grilled cheeses for whatever. I'm sure a 500% markup or whatever for cost, And we're going to tour with the Dead and do this. So they buy the trailer, they get all set up to do it, and then fucking Jerry dies.
Oh my god.
And so they never actually came to fruition on this.
They could have done it with Fish.
Yeah.
They could have. Well, my uncle, I'm sure, is a fan of Fish. He was a person who introduced me to Fish. But I think there was it's like Grateful Dead, Fish. It's like
And yeah, for a lot of Deadheads, that's how
it's
it is.
like
Yeah.
it's a whole different thing, right? So my uncle went into like a week of mourning when Jerry died.
Yeah.
He was at the last show at Soldier Field when prior to Jerry dying, and he's got these great fantastical stories about dropping acid, listening to his favorite Dead song or whatever, and yeah, so short end of that story is they bought the trailer, got ready to go. Jerry died, everything fell through, no more tour, and that was the end.
No more Cosmic Grilled Cheese.
He didn't want to follow Fish around the country. He wanted to follow.
Yeah, Fish kind of became like the
facto.
next generation,
Right. Right.
people. I think probably most Fish heads love the Grateful Dead too.
Sure,
But I
sure.
don't know if it's as
Yeah.
reciprocated,
The older Deadheads, they're just, I mean, they're boomers, dude.
Yeah,
like, that's
yeah.
real. The older deadheads, they're boomers. They're all rich, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They don't have time for new things.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, how do we make this sustainable? Psychedelic grilled cheeses, and then Jerry.
It would have worked.
Did you
yeah,
ever
you
get a
wanna-
chance to see any iteration of the Dead or like any of the offshoots and stuff?
No,
that's
like
awesome.
yeah, like as I said, like I knew of them,
Yeah.
but I
I'm
didn't
sure
really
you-
listen to them growing up.
Have you done like any fest with like O'Teal and friends or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so it's funny. The first day I picked up I have two Foderas.
Yeah.
The Fodera that I play now, the 5-string. The day I picked it up from the shop when it was ready after a year and a half of waiting, I picked it up actually coincidentally to bring to Strange Creek to that festival.
Okay.
O'Teal was artist at large
Okay.
at that festival.
Yeah.
So right when we got there, I went right up to him and I was like a massive fan.
Yeah.
Would you sit in with us?
Oh wow.
And I was so excited because it's O'Teal. Like,
Right.
of course, I want to play with this guy.
Right.
And then my next thought was, I just picked up this bass. I haven't even played it yet.
Right.
It's a 5-string bass. I haven't played a 5-string bass in like years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit in with one of my heroes is gonna sit in with me. I have no
Right.
idea what to do on this
Oh,
instrument.
just let him do all the work.
Yeah,
That's
just
pretty
hang
much what I
back
did.
and play
Pretty
all
much what I
notes,
did.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It gives me a nod to solo. Oh no, you're good. You're good.
You're
keep
good.
going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Speaking of that 5-string, I know you string it E to G, right?
It's E to C.
E to
Yeah.
C, E to C. Has it always been that way, or like why did you do that? Let's explore that a little bit.
Yeah. So I actually contacted them a month before the bass was going to be made, and I just made the decision to go high C rather than low B. And it was because I was doing a lot of tapping at that time.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of chordal playing, and I was beginning to explore more just composing rather than writing riffs.
Sure.
You know, and I had already been there for a few years at that point, but as I got a little bit more refined in my abilities, I wanted to reach a little bit higher.
Right.
I wasn't thinking of ideas that were any lower. I was thinking higher, more melodic, more harmonic. So I went for it. I said, please just swap it out for a high C instead of a low B, and it changed my life.
Yeah.
Like everything changed from then. I started doing more tapping stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like the God Only Knows cover.
Right.
That was one of the first things, like first like big projects I had on that bass was
Yeah.
I really wanted to like mimic like what Brad Meldau would do on like the Radiohead covers,
saying
you
all
know?
the right shit right
Yeah. No, I mean, but you know, pianists are like my favorite.
I
you
love
know?
pianists too.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Pianist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So like on that video specifically, you know, there's like a midpoint bass solo, I guess you would call it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where you're like playing rhythm and melody at the same time and kind of soloing while you're doing all that, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that it probably wouldn't have translated as well if it were on a standard, you know, low B bass, right? Because you need that high chordal thing. The tappy thing makes it like, you know, a lot brighter, more aggressive, and it just translates more cleanly. But then from like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but from like, I feel like, you know, following your musical journey and like watching you post, you know, Instagram vids and stuff from that point, like, I feel like I don't know if you purposely like honed into the tapping thing, but like, I just saw your like talent and your exploration of that style of playing just kind of explode and progress like aggressively over the years. And now I would consider you one of the best tapping bass players in the world. I can't think
means
of
a
like
lot.
other guys that, you know, I mean, you're not the first person to tap on a bass, right?
Oh, no way. No way.
But
Wait, what?
Should I leave?
Yeah.
but you like are just, you know, with like polyrhythms and stuff, like it's like when you break stuff, like when I just listen to it, I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. And then when you break it down, it almost kind of ruins it for me because like, my left hand is in 5 and my right hand's in 13. Check this out, you know?
Yeah, it kind of ruins the mystique a little bit when you know it.
It just sounds good, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about being a musician in general is we have to like, you know, we love it and then we learn something.
Right.
And then once we learn it, it's like, oh, that's all it was.
Yeah.
But so you have to try to maintain that mystique, you know, throughout. But really what what happened was I just felt like doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I started playing bass, and slap bass was like the thing that really brought me to it. And I still do it a lot. I'll do it in Consider the Source all the time. But I started finding that when I picked up the instrument, I didn't want to do anything else but tap. I had all these ideas, and I was working on all these techniques, and they were going places, you know, like working on all sorts of, like, you know, playing a melody, playing a cool chord progression, learning piano pieces, learning classical pieces, stuff like that. And so, you know, I'm a petulant child is really what it comes down to. I just want to do what I want to do. And when I reach a certain kind of tipping point of ability with that technique, it was just like it led to this, it led to this, it led to all these other things, and all the rhythmic ideas that I had gained while playing slap bass and studying Indian music and all sorts of other things that I was interested in. I just transferred them right to tapping. Yeah. And it was a pretty, I'm not going to say easy. It wasn't easy, but natural in a way transition to be able to take these rhythmic ideas and then put them into this position rather than this position or this position.
Yeah. Right.
So, so over the past few years, that's kind of all I've been doing is not all I've been doing, 95% of it though, writing pieces like that and seeing where it goes. And I started realizing that not only is it so much fun with improvising and all these other things, but you could sort of treat the bass like a piano. It could become a composer's instrument by applying that technique to it, especially with the high C, but not necessary. Right. And like what I'm doing now, like my latest obsession is writing tapping pieces and then creating layers on top of it. So like I'll record a tapping piece. And it could exist as a solo piece, and that's cool. But then I'll add a melody to it, and I'll add some harmonies. I'll program some drums, and that's kind of like what Mono Means One is. The new project is all based on that, just creating like a bass orchestra, and then playing it live.
Do you have anything released with that?
Not yet, but
it's coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an official announcement probably in a week or two. For the first album and some tour dates and such.
So this will be released after that announcement, I'm assuming. So
yes,
we have no. Oh, I can't wait then.
It's
exciting. hopefully by the time this gets released,
it's already out there. I'll put a link right here.
Nicely done.
To the announcement.
To the announcement.
To the announcement.
So what was the breakthrough as far as the polyrhythmic and polymetric like aspects of your tapping style? Like where did that really come from?
Ever since I first heard a polyrhythm, I loved it. I just love the idea of it. I'm trying to think of when I first got into it. My dad's a musician also. So I know he used to show me, like some kind of like Afro-Cuban stuff. And that's sort of maybe the first,
for sure,
dip into that world. And he would explain it, and he was, he's very animated when he talks about music. So, that's cool. It's infectious,
That's really cool. Very lucky.
Yeah, very, very, very. He's a great musician and a great dad, so very lucky.
We've heard a lot of stories about, great musician and shitty dad. So
right.
It's nice to have a win.
Yeah. So I was going somewhere with a question here, and it escapes me. But we briefly talked about your hot sauce in the beginning of this podcast, and both Mark and I are connoisseurs of hot sauces. And when you released your first batch of hot sauce a few years ago, I got a bottle at a show, a Reggie. I think when you guys opened Marvin opened for you guys at Reggie's.
Oh yeah, I think we opened for them.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I got a bottle, and my wife. I like hot sauce. My wife likes hot sauce, but it has become her favorite.
Oh, that's
sauce.
Awesome.
So much so that I reached out to you directly, and I was like, I need a case of this hot
That's
sauce.
right. That's right.
So I bought a case of hot sauce, and we were down to our last bottle. So when I mentioned to my wife that we were doing the podcast with you, she was like, well, we're going to need another case of hot sauce.
We got to re-up.
We need to re-up. So we'll be talking after this, and I'll need to buy another case from you. And it's like... I would recommend it. It goes well with like eggs, breakfast kind of stuff. It's a little sweeter.
Hot sauces do.
Well, but it's like a little sweeter, right?
Okay.
And so it's not like your traditional kind of like a Cholula or Louisiana. It's like a little.
Don't say those names with such disdain.
Oh, listen. Cholula is like
yeah.
up there for me.
Even like Frank's or Louisiana. Like that shit's great. It's good.
Great with like chicken,
it's all
stuff
good.
like that. You know. But I really love your hot sauce for, like I said, breakfast, eggs. Also like certain type of tacos I think it goes well with. And then I remember recently reading a post about you guys, like, I don't know if you got a new batch in or you're hitting the road again and you're like, this is by far the #1 grossing selling item that we have ever created. All the CDs, all the shirts, all the lighters. We sell more hot sauce than anything. Can you elaborate on like just how that came about and who decided to go with a hot sauce?
Yeah. It's, the whole thing is so funny. Yeah, we keep making the joke that like we're going to become, more popular for our hot sauce than, years of slaving
music,
over our art.
Albums and stuff like that.
And we don't even make the hot sauce. A friend of mine does. But so it started as sort of like, it was always like an ongoing joke in the band, like, oh, it'd be funny if someone made a hot sauce called Consider the Sauce. And people would say it sometimes, joke.
Right.
So a friend of mine, DJ, who's a friend of my ex-girlfriend's, he came up to us one day and said, hey, like I make hot sauce for a living. It's what I do. Me and my wife, we have a whole business doing it, Lost Capital Foods. And he's like, like, how about we make you like a short batch of this hot sauce? It's delicious. Like we already, have an idea, but if you have any, we'll give you guys some input if you have any ideas. And
like they let you like pick what sort of flavor profiles.
Exactly. And so then they sent us one. We tried it, loved it. It was great. We were all big hot sauce fans anyway. And so they made us a run of it, and it sold really well. And so then we re-upped. That sold really well. We kept doing it. And then we decided to do, I forgot how many bottles we had sold at that point, but we sold a bunch. And then we decided to do because we sold this many, here's like an extra hot version of it. Yeah. And then we put that out, and it's hot.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. But even for me, and I can handle heat, it's got some kick. And the funny thing is now that one's selling better. So check it out. On this tour, the whole idea, I probably shouldn't say this, because, whatever, but we just didn't know what direction we should go in as far as promoting the tour. We're like, we don't have a new album yet. We have one in the works, but it's, still in the process of being finalized. And, what's the theme? Like, what are we going to talk about? And
the new album.
and Jeff was like, well, what about, we have a song called The H is O, which is like an obscure SNL reference from Will Ferrell's sketch. It's stupid. Okay. It's funny. It's not stupid. It's hysterical.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's genius.
It's genius. He was in his prime.
In his prime.
So, so the song was called The H is O, which is The Heat is On. That was right. So Jeff, our drummer, decided to pose to us, how about we just call it the Heat is On tour, and we'll just, talk about the hot sauce a bunch and order some more. We reach a couple more new landmarks. Let's just talk about that. Right. We're selling double the merch on this tour.
Good grief, that's amazing.
It's great.
Well, because people see it and they're like, well, I got to get the hot sauce, obviously, but like I need to find a way to get it home safely, so I'm going to buy a shirt just to wrap the hot sauce.
Yeah, and people have been doing that.
Smart.
Yeah.
Well, so what's funny is I would say maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I went to Mark and I was like, bro, I think your band needs to do a hot sauce because my buddy John at Consider the Source is selling the shit out of hot sauce. And it's a thing that, like, every band's got shirts, every band's got lighters, every band's got slap bracelets, beer koozie, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, dudes love hot sauce, and it's, like, a new... and if it's good, like, it'll sell. And then you have a shirt, you're not going to re-up on shirts, right? Like, you may buy a different design or something, but, like... I bought a case of hot sauce, and I'm about to buy another case of hot sauce.
It's something that you like. It's repurchase.
Every time you come through town,
you're gonna
you'll buy some more hot sauce. Yeah,
right.
Do you have like your QR code on the bottle, where people can go and follow you and like reorder?
Man, I don't know, but if we don't, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know I'm a great idea.
Yeah, you sure are. You sure are.
So he's an idea man over here.
My punk band is gonna do that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, because you guys had didn't you have like a limited edition beer that you guys did?
Huntsman did.
Right, Huntsman, that's what I mean.
That's the metal band. Yeah, we did. We've done a beer, like a mead, 2 meads actually.
Oh, that's
Birmingham.
awesome.
Yeah, Birmingham.
I love mead.
If you're ever in Delaware, Birmingham Meadery, like it's just a great stopping point. It's really beautiful over there, and the people are amazing. And like mead is a very interesting thing. It's like I assumed it was gonna be because it's honey based.
Yeah.
I assumed it was just gonna be sweet and overwhelming, and they made this really smoky, kind of spicy mead for us.
Sounds great.
And then Metal Monkey Brewing did a beer for us that our guitar player is a big beer guy. Like he loves like different craft beers and stuff, which isn't saying a lot. Most metalheads like have that guy in their band. So he came to me and he's just like, "What do you think?" And I was just like, "Well, I don't really like IPAs. I don't understand why IPAs are such a thing, but like I trust you to go for this however you want." He's like, "What don't you like about IPAs?" And I was just like, "It is like a fucking pine cone dipped in armpit sweat." I'm not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But like again, like I'm sure if you like it, I'm sure I'm gonna like trust it, And so he's like, "What kind of beers do you like?" And I was like, "Saison. I love a good Saison beer." And he's just like, "Well, can I play around with the idea?" And so he talked to this brewery, and they did one with lemongrass and Szechuan peppercorn. So there's just a little at the very end. There's a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
By far, my favorite beer I've ever had.
Wow.
By far. So like the subtle flavors of the hot sauce, I'm excited to explore that. So what are sort of like the flavor profiles of I guess the baseline sauce?
Yeah,
so I'm assuming the hot is just a hotter version of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I'm embarrassed to say I don't even know. I'm not good. I'm a big hot sauce fan, but I don't know specifics.
That I like it,
yeah,
that's kind of like I said,
it makes your tongue go ooh.
Yeah, it's like a sophisticated salsa verde.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Is it like
here it is a green chili.
Hell yeah.
Pulling it up here.
I'm gonna have to make some chili.
Saison.
I'm gonna learn a lot about my own hot sauce right now.
And it's a medium. I see that it's got
it's got like
two
a little.
on there.
But if you go back, I'm sure I can. There's the extra hot, which is got a silver label that says extra hot. It's got $5 signs, but I'm assuming that's heat level.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't tried the extra hot. I think I might pass on it if I'm being honest. But,
yeah.
We will definitely get some more of this green chili.
I need to try that for sure.
My wife has a bottle at work. So when she's eating lunch at work, she can put it on her falafel. Because I know
it's great on falafel.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
My wife's vegetarian, and I think. Are you all you guys vegetarian?
We're all vegetarian.
All vegetarian. So like they're trying to find ways to add flavor to their food. Like
it's not very hard.
There's been a lot of advancements in the vegetarian food world. I will say
there is. I mean, my wife's been lifelong, and we make a lot of stir fries and stuff like that.
Have you been to Sultan's Market here in Chicago?
No.
Oh, talking about good falafel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is. Do you have a day off here?
No, unfortunately,
tomorrow in Milwaukee or where do you guys have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're in Detroit.
Yeah, if between here and Martyrs, if you have the time, stop by.
Okay.
Get some Sultans.
Getting some Sultans, dude. Yeah. The falafel sandwich is just divine. It's so good.
Is that a chain?
It's not. Well, there's more than one. Yeah. So there's more than one
sounds
location. But it's not a big chain. It's a Chicago thing. Maybe suburbs. Like maybe a couple in the suburbs. The one I had been going to for years is in Wicker Park. And then they had one a long time in Lincoln Park. They closed that one down. Now there's one in Logan Square, and they're really, really good. Yeah. My family is like. Part of my family is Lebanese, and so like all those flavors were very, very welcome.
Yeah, hits home. Yeah,
but if you like falafel, their falafel sandwich.
Awesome. Yeah, I love a good falafel.
Yeah.
Oh man, big time.
Yeah, it's a staple in my household for sure.
Hell yeah.
I do. So when we were talking about tapping, I got sidetracked. Went to hot sauce. I want to go back to tapping a little bit. because I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are like doing stuff with Bass Magazine, right? Like contributing. Aren't you doing like?
No, I mean they've shared my stuff before,
Is that what it is?
and yeah, album reviews and such.
Okay.
But
I thought you were like doing like breakdown tapping stuff. Was it maybe Scott?
I'm doing on the No Treble site. I have a tapping series.
God,
that recently I ended, but I have 8 different tapping lessons based on solo pieces of mine and just the different techniques that I use in those songs. Yeah.
Are they? Is it like a video based thing? Like I'm watching a YouTube video, you're breaking it down type of thing.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, they're on my YouTube page, and it's all my buddy George, who did all the video, the filming and editing. It's brilliant, and he put all the tabs at the bottom in a way that's so clear, and I could never in a million years do. Right. So yeah, they came out really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so people can check that out if you're. I mean, I'm sure people who don't know and kind of discover some of the tapping stuff from this podcast will want a nice little breakdown. And then I saw recently, not too long ago, you're on Scott's Bass Lessons, doing some stuff over there. How did that go?
That was awesome. Yeah, that was a couple years back. It was funny. I was Nick from. I don't even think it's a thing anymore. It was called iBass or something like that,
familiar. I don't know.
Maybe I'm forgetting the name of it. But someone from an online bass resource reached out to me and said, "You want to come down and do some video work?" And I said, "Yeah, would love to." And I get down there, and Scott's there.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea that I was about to do a Scott's Bass Lessons thing.
So this was like a Scott's Bass lesson thing. You just like got surprised on.
Yeah, I just didn't know that's what I was doing. Yeah. So I'm like, it's in the weirdest, deepest part of Brooklyn. Yeah, it's raining out. We're hustling all our stuff in, me and Seth, and we get in there, finally load in, and I'm looking at him like, that's Scott.
Yeah.
From Scott's Bass Lessons. That's cool.
So cool.
That's cool. What's he doing here? I thought maybe they like split this room for whatever, for doing their own thing. And then sure enough, they're setting up the place, and Scott says hi, introduces himself, and says, "Cool, so we'll do the interview right here, and I'll have you play a solo piece, and you do a thing with your drummer." I'm like, okay.
Oh, we're doing this.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
That's
so we
so
did
great.
a bunch of filming, and like an interview, asked a bunch of questions. I got to talk about a little bit about my philosophy on tapping, and
That's so great.
yeah, it was really cool.
He and Ian are just magnificent.
Yeah.
At
Like
conversation.
all things.
They
At all
are, yeah.
things, but like their conversational style is, they just know how to get a lot out of you.
Yeah, they do.
Very, very, and they keep it very positive. And it's interesting. Like there's this ilk of educators that I've put in my mind, Scott and Ian both, on the same kind of level as guys like Victor Wooten.
Yeah.
Like the communication style, being able to command the room and break down, pretty like high, like intellect or like, higher like music theory, and being able to explain it in a very digestible way.
Yeah, it's a talent in and of itself, and it's hard. Some of the greatest players have no idea how to convey it to another person.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he's a fantastic player, and and I like that he says a lot of inspirational things and just puts it out into the bass world. Recently, maybe last week even, I saw he wrote something on Instagram about on his note. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, about how some teacher said you'll never be a professional. You should quit. You should do something else. And now he's this massive force in the bass world, in the music world, really.
A bass conglomerate.
Yeah. I mean, I send my students to him, to his page, and just say, you might as well join too. Get some more knowledge, on all these things. He's always putting out new stuff. He has all these bass players that are part of it that have different perspectives, different talents, and it's a great page to be part of. You should all check it out.
Yeah. I sometimes get asked if I'm teaching lessons, and my first response is, "Why?" Why?
This guy's doing it way better than I would.
Immediately, we'll go. You need to check out Scott Divine.
Yeah.
You need to check this out as a starting point. Like, just jump in.
Yeah.
You won't regret it. And a lot of my friends, people I've met who've done that, like they'll check back in, like, yeah, that checked out. I'm in the SBL Academy. It's great. It's cool. I would appreciate a kickback, Scott. No,
a referral program. What do they call that?
Yeah, but there's also Derek Bennett, another really great one. Have you had a chance to sit down with Derek?
No, I haven't. No.
He's
wonderful. Doing a lot of really good stuff. Killer player. Doing a lot on the Instagrams and stuff like that. And he was just at the bass bash with us.
Oh, cool.
Killer bass player, and he's got his own. I don't know what he call it, like the Derek Bennett Academy.
Derek's bass lessons. DARIC.
Lessons. Yeah, he's doing Derek Bennett's bass lessons.
Yeah,
and it's just DerekBennett.com.
And it's DARIC.
Yeah, so an odd way of spelling Derek.
No, it's the normal way for Derek.
That's right.
Nope,
My name's Jody, and it's spelled with a Y. So
I'm Mark with a C.
Right, and you're Mark with a C.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
I'm John Ferrera, spelled Ferrara.
And pronounced Ferrara.
And then, so when you first came in, we were chatting as I was setting up. We were talking about, like how touring has changed for you a little bit recently, as opposed to, like, for those who don't know, John and Consider the Source have been doing long tours for over a decade, right? Like just
15, 16 years, something.
Right. So like in a van, 3, 4 dudes, 5 dudes, whatever, just traveling across the U.S., playing as many shows as possible, crash or wherever. And that has kind of changed more into doing like, I mean, you tell me, like cluster of dates where you kind of fly in, do your few dates, go home.
Yes.
And like how, I guess the first question would be, I think I know the answer to this, why, and kind of like how that all came about for you and you guys.
Yeah. So, it just years and years of doing it. I still love playing. I love the band. I love the music. I love our fan base, everything. But, touring kills you.
Right.
For years and years and years, issues with back issues, insomnia issues.
Yeah.
Lots of tolls on my, even weird things like my teeth are messed up, my gums from just being too tired to brush my teeth for 10 years straight. At the end of a long, run of shows and everything. So, it's, finding new ways to make it all happen. That's, responsible health-wise.
Sure.
And another part of it too is that, especially since, I've been doing online lessons for years, private lessons, but since the pandemic, it like skyrocketed because everyone was home and, spending their kickback money on hobbies.
They've been sitting there forever, and now they're watching YouTube videos. They see you, and they go, well, I really like this tapping thing. Might as well just reach out and see.
Yeah, I always wanted to learn tapping. Let me hit this guy up and see what's up.
What's the best way to contact you with regard to lessons?
Through my Instagram page.
Just DM?
Just through DM or email at john.ferrara.bass@gmail.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those are the best ways, yeah. Yeah, thanks for the alley-oop there.
Well, yeah. I have plenty of friends and people who are asking. I'm literally like, there's a guy who's texting me right now. Like he's been texting like throughout this whole thing, like asking about. He's like, yeah, I just got my surgery done, and I want to jump back into bass playing. What do you recommend? First thing, Scott's bass lessons. There's he's into heavier styles of music, and I was like, you want to go for lessons? I recommended Jeff Matz from High on Fire.
Oh, cool, yeah.
He does lessons too, and that's a very specific style and everything.
For sure.
But people want to get into the technical stuff, and like, yes, you do a lot of tapping, but let's not pigeonhole what you do. I'm assuming that your pedagogy is pretty broad.
Yeah, I've gone through many different techniques and different things of interest, and different styles, of course, over the years. It's just now is the main thing I like to do is tap. But
did you study somewhere in particular?
No, I kind of learned just on the job. My dad, I was saying before, is a musician, and he got me gigging with him like right out the gate, pretty much as soon as I can do a certain amount of stuff on the bass.
Yeah.
He was cool about it. He sort of sold me as like, the kid's good. He practices a lot. He learns stuff quickly. You could pay him like a quarter of what you pay all of us. You just, give him some experience. So I was really fortunate to play with some really badass players at a young age. And that's really how I learned. I didn't, study it formally or go the academic route.
Is this out of New York, or where did you go?
Yeah. I was born and raised in Queens. So
man,
Queens, Long Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, all that. That's where I really started playing.
This golden, like, I don't know. Do you think that it's sort of like there's not as many kids in that situation these days in New York? I always just fantasized about growing up in New York as a musician and just being surrounded by all of these people. It's so casual.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to think nowadays because it seems like the culture is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I always look at just the state of like guitar centers now.
Yeah.
And how there's so much, like they're unfortunately kind of barren in a lot of places.
Right. Yeah.
I think, and I don't get me wrong, there's a lot of musicians, young musicians still. I have a couple of young students that are killer players and doing great stuff. And so there's definitely still a lot out there, but
Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what it's like now, really, for them. Like, I have some people in certain areas, they're great. They're working really hard. They're getting better and better. No one to play with.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the older guard, like these legendary musicians, they aren't really interested necessarily in living there anymore. It doesn't seem like it's the same sort of hub where you can just like go and get coffee and there's some random brilliant session. I just bumped into Marcus Miller. Just bumped into Ornette Coleman. Like that sort of vibe. Chick Corea, like they're all there. Like you had access to those people. And does it seem like that anymore? Are you still living in New York?
No, I haven't been in New York in a while, but the reports that I hear is that it's just changed a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Like I hope what I've heard isn't exactly true. But I mean, the 55 bar closed last year.
I know. Was the Hipster Assassins? Were they the ones to close it? Or they were like part
I know
of that
they were
closing
playing there.
show.
I don't know that they were the last ones, but
They were part of that week. I remember them posting about it a lot. That would have been
Yeah,
cool.
they're
To be a
great.
fly on the wall for that.
they're great, man.
I bet they just melted the house down. Kenny Grahowski, I love Imperial Triumphant. In fact, I'm gonna be playing with them in May.
Oh,
We're
cool.
doing a show together.
Nice.
And but those dudes in that band are just other freaking worldly. And then Hipster Assassins. Is Felix a permanent member?
I think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
it up.
Yeah. Now maybe he's in. He's in Asheville now. So I don't know.
Yeah, he was in Florida for a minute.
He was in
and
Florida,
and now in Asheville.
Yeah, I know that he's in Asheville now because some of my Asheville students are always saying, "Hey, Felix lives here now." I'm like, "Cool.
Yeah.
Take lessons from him too. He's badass."
Yeah.
I mean, it's on their Insta page here. It is showing Felix as listed as a player.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining he's.
It's between him and Mike Bendy, or sometimes they both play.
Sometimes they both play. Yeah.
Bendy's another one.
Yeah, he's a monster, man. Great player, great guy too.
He's watching his videos over the past couple of years now. Like I've worn rings for a long time because I've just wanted to get finger tattoos.
Yeah.
Like if I wear rings, I won't have to.
Right, placeholder.
But now the rings are starting to come off, and I've been watching Mike, and I'm like, fuck, he and Felix look so cool with their just their hands and the tattoos. And now I'm gonna get them. I'm finally gonna get my hand tattoos.
Nice.
I'm not gonna practice bass to be a better bass player, but I will definitely get finger tattoos because of those guys.
Yeah, it's all the clout you'll need anyway.
Yeah, well, look how cool I look.
Well, I mean, I've thought about getting a couple finger tattoos. Do you have a thought of what you would get?
Yeah, mine are more about my kids, like a first initial and then their astrological sign. Just like simple, super simple. Just these two fingers here. Keep those open canvas for whatever. Who knows?
I think mine is going to be the Prince symbol.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to do the Prince.
Wow.
That would be maybe the first one I get.
Nice.
I'm a big Prince fan.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to, when I was a bricklayer, these guys would make fun of me. So they found out I was a Prince fan. They just asked me like one day, like, well, what do you think about Prince? I was like, fucking a legend, And they would just make so much fun of me. But I never backed down. I was like, you're the fool.
Yeah.
You don't like Prince, there's something wrong with you.
But you're also a guitarist and a bass player.
Yeah.
And like the roster of musicians that played with that dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Alone,
Incredible.
Like
right.
all the way to the bitter end. Every single one of them is just like.
And he himself was a fine bassist. And
He was a fine
Right,
bassist, and
right,
there's a really great video of him playing a Sandberg bass, one of Ida's basses.
Nice, nice.
He's just
because she's
shredding.
an artist for Sandberg, right?
Sure is. Yeah,
Maybe we'll get her on the podcast one day.
I would love
Mark,
that.
get to work.
Yeah, do your job, Mark. Did you ever get a chance to play the 5.5 bar? Is it 5.5 or 55?
55. No, I never played there. I'm not like, I mean, even though Consider the Source is sort of like labeled jazz fusion and we sort of identify as that, we're not like in that world.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of the, I know some of the players.
Did you ever try to play?
I mean, not really. Like,
come on.
a couple of gigs here
Let's
and
give
there.
a reason to be happy that it's fucking down. Let's burn it to the ground. Iconic my butt. No, I'm kidding.
No, I've been to a bunch of shows there.
Yeah.
But just never performed there.
You know, my goal, my dream for a long time as a young musician was to just go to the Village Vanguard. And you mentioned Bradley Meldau earlier.
Yeah.
My first time, I guess it was my second time ever to New York. Some friend, like my now wife's friend, who we were staying with, she's like, "Hey, Mark, you like jazz? Let's go. Let's go to the Village Vanguard." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then we went, and it was the Brad Meldau trio, Larry Grenadier.
Yeah.
And
what year was that?
2006 or 7.
Oh,
2006. And they sat us right underneath Howard Johnson's tuba.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm a tuba player too. And I was just,
nice. Yeah.
like, with our digital camera.
Right.
Digital camera, like selfie with it.
Yeah. Old school
There's like
selfie.
seven flash photos, and these like in this dark room. God, what an
I love that
experience.
room, and I've seen Brad there with Larry Grenadier and Jeff Ballard.
Yeah, on drums.
And drums, yeah.
Yeah, I think
it
that was the
so
same.
killer.
I think that was the same trio.
Yeah. They did a few albums together. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you hear that stuff with Pat Metheny too? They did like
Pat Metheny.
he did an album with Pat Metheny.
No, I haven't heard that one. I know we did the one with Mark Giuliano a bunch of years ago.
Oh, that would be cool.
That duo one, that was sick. Yeah.
Speaking of Mark Giuliano, he was on the Bowie Black Star record with Tim and Jason Lindner, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that Jason, Tim, and Nate Smith now officially have that trio?
Oh wow!
How did that
That's
come about,
cool.
Mark? How did that come about?
So I give all the credit to Tim Lefebvre. Like we did the bass bash back in July, and we were just like, we need a headliner for Sunday. And John DeAria, editor-in-chief at Bass Mag,
Right.
was like, well, let's talk to Tim. Let's get Tim. We need to get Tim Lefebvre involved. I'm like, yeah. And I was just like, you know what, Tim, like, let's think of musicians you want to play with. You're known for doing improvisational music. Who are your top people? And he's just like, oh, maybe we should get Jason Lindner involved.
Yeah.
And like I hadn't
He's so great.
known much about what he had done.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I trust you. Like let's do that. And I was like, you know what? Let me see what it would take to get Nate Smith. Like if you play with Nate, he's like, oh yeah, I did a couple things with him, but like never with Jason, never like improvised. And like in the back of my mind, like I could watch Tim make noise myself for an hour.
Oh, he's
not everybody
such a
could.
Great sense of it.
And we all can watch Nate Smith just play pocket
Four to
drums.
the floor.
Yeah, and it's the most interesting drumming ever.
Right.
Which I just learned he had a cameo in Birdman, by the way. Just
really?
yeah.
Right.
He just posted about that today, I think. But so we were able to put that trio together for the first time, and it was hands down my favorite concert I'd ever been to. And now it's got a name. It's called Leave It Out, and I think they just played again, or no, they're just about to play in New Hampshire coming up soon.
Oh, that's
so now
cool,
it's a
man.
thing, and now we got to get them.
I'll try to go see that. That's right next to me.
Oh, dude, yes.
New Hampshire's like
I think it's Portsmouth.
Oh
New
yeah,
Hampshire?
that's like an hour from me.
Yeah,
cool.
you gotta go. You gotta
Yeah,
get
if I'm
tickets.
not playing, I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah,
because they, all thanks to Mark, they got these guys together here.
I think it was.
That's
Tim.
awesome.
I think it was Tim.
Listen,
Tim,
without that bass bash,
that's true.
it wasn't happening.
and like the insistence on just getting Nate Smith to touch the place.
Right.
I love him.
Nate showed up.
Yeah, me too. He's incredible.
And they did whatever, hour and a half set and melted the place. And then the first night we had Living Color.
Oh, that's
Closed
so
the show.
cool.
That was
And,
awesome.
and before the Nate, Jason, and Tim Leave It Out, this is before they had a name. We booked them before they even had a name. Wednesday Night Titans played.
Oh my god.
Yeah, have you seen them yet?
I mean, only videos.
Oh my God.
They played the day before us in Roanoke on our last tour, and the staff was talking about them just nonstop.
Oh my God.
They're all musicians there too.
Do
so
you
they
know
were like,
Kevin?
No.
Kevin Scott?
No.
Oh, what a
He's
guy.
Great
Yeah.
dude, great player, just yeah, you guys would have a blast.
Oh, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Zach Danziger is a
Yeah, he's
genius.
ridiculous. He's
Dude,
ridiculous.
like, just a weird thought. Like, you're tapping with, like, Wednesday Night Titans, because, you know, he's triggering everything off of the drums, right?
know.
And if you were doing that would be a great,
That'd be
like,
fun. That would be fun.
cameo sit-in.
I'd do
like,
it.
Just play random 16th notes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be fine.
And it'll work. Yeah.
It'll work, and it'll be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I can see they're touring now, too, right? They're
Yeah,
kind of
they
all
just
over the place.
they just came through Chicago. In fact,
Right.
I got him. Kevin asked, he's like, "Hey, do you think we can get a session over at Chicago Music Exchange?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Nice.
So I just like texted their videographer. I'm like, "Yo, check out this band."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that's sick." And I was like, "Yeah, they want to do a session on Monday. You in?" He was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And
That's
so
cool.
That's on deck to be released as well.
Oh, I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
That's
I can't
cool.
wait to see it. I was there. Like, I was there, dude. I also might make a cameo in their interview.
What
Nice.
you really need is a cameo on the screen when he triggers, and then all of a sudden there's a big picture of you that pops up holding a belt or something like that. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
that would be awesome.
Oh, I love it. I like. Oh, man, I
Yeah,
really
that-
hope you get a chance to see him.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. As I said, the whole staff was just raving about them.
Yeah.
They said it was awesome and hysterical and just great.
It
yeah.
is.
You ever get a chance to see Zach play? Danziger?
Not live. Only in videos. Yeah. Jeff, my drummer, is a big fan.
Yeah.
So
It's hard not to be a fan of him.
yeah.
Right.
I love his whole persona. Like the whole like Andy Kaufman meets like
Yeah, I mean-
Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
Even when he did the CME thing, last week, he put up a Instagram video and he's like, I'm at Chicago Music Exchange. We're doing this video. It'll be out sometime in the next 5 years, whenever these motherfuckers get to it. You know, type of
Yep.
thing, you know? Oh, it was dying. It was really good.
Yeah. I would not like his roasts are just
Yeah, no, it's
so
great.
good.
He's definitely one of my favorite Instagram.
Is he from New York as well? Do you know?
I don't know actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big city, so
Yeah. It's a few musicians there.
few
Yeah.
handful.
How do you spell his last name?
DANZINGER.
No, that's not it. Oh, there he is. Yeah,
That's the
this
man.
one.
It's a great last name.
There it is, and it's on the video now. Or you just go to Wednesday Night Titans and see where they're touring. But I remember at the Bass Bash show, I was sitting there hanging out with I can't remember the kid's name, but he's a younger bass player, and he had a Sarek bass that Jake was showcasing, and it was his bass, and Wednesday Night Titans is setting up and they're doing their sound check or whatever, and the kid next to me goes like, "Where's his strap for his bass? Like, how's he gonna play bass?" And I was like, "I don't know, dude. He's up there like demoing stuff, but there's no strap on his bass." And then the show starts, and he walks out with his wrestling belt over his shoulder, and that's his bass strap is the wrestling belt.
That's so great.
And we both looked at each other like, "There it is. That's where it was."
Yeah.
Oh, and-
as a WWF fan as a kid,
Yeah,
like
right.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
All right. Favorite era of WWF
I mean, I
or
was
wrestling in general.
Whenever I was
Hold
8
on.
to
No,
12
no, no.
years old,
yes. I mean, Ultimate Warrior was my favorite
Right.
wrestler. He was number one.
was,
for sure.
We have the Wrestling Buddy, the original.
Yeah, I had it too.
Yeah.
I had it too.
I
yeah.
threw up on it, and the stains are still there when I was like 8.
It's adorable.
Yeah. I'm a big Attitude Era guy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because that was like when I was like 12 to
Yeah.
14, and I remember seeing him at it was called Freedom Hall. Now it's called something else in Louisville, and it was SmackDown.
Oh,
taping. I was
cool.
13,
Yeah.
and we were like sitting relatively close to the ring, and my buddy and I were just losing our minds. And then like it was a good deck. Like there was a lot of really good matches and stuff. They were very entertaining. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think it was like Kurt Angle. It was when Kurt Angle was starting to be an asshole to everybody.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it's
we
true.
changed. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we just hear this like motorcycle revving, and just Taker comes out. Undertaker just rides
Yeah.
up. That's when he was doing American Badass, and he had the Kid Rock thing.
Right.
Oh my
And we
God.
lost our minds. It was so electric. It was
Yeah.
so good. The
Yeah.
writing was top.
Yeah.
It was top tier. Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out with a beer truck and hosing down the McMahon family.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, I was into
was
it.
it Budweiser or was it Miller?
You guys are way over my. I mean, I
don't recall.
I stopped watching when I was whatever.
Yeah.
12.
Don't judge, dude.
I stopped and then I started again, and then I stopped again. Yeah, like when Stone Cold Steve Austin became like the main dude.
Yeah.
That's when I started again. And then, I don't know, just fell off of it.
Attitude Era was probably the greatest soap opera of all time. Of all time. It was so good. The writing was great. The matches were great.
Yeah.
And the Beyond the Mat, that Beyond the Mat documentary that came out is heartbreaking. This is like seeing like Mick Foley's family like ringside when he gets like when they're doing Hell in a Cell and he like gets just dropped through.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And like seeing his wife and daughter just like freaking out because like they're he just fucking fell.
Yeah.
Seeing was it The Rock or was it Undertaker in that match? But like just seeing like them afterwards, like, are you okay? Like feeling mortified.
Yeah.
And then like Jake the Snake going off camera to do meth. I know, dude. It's real.
I feel like any documentary I see on past pro wrestlers are all very sad.
Yeah.
What's his name? DDP's got his DDP yoga, and
I love DDP yoga.
I think.
Do you know who else loves DDP yoga? Your hero, O'Teal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a big wrestling guy.
Is
Yeah, and he had those back problems.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, how you doing? How's your back feeling? He's like, I'm doing good, doing my DDP yoga. And I was like, you do DDP yoga too? Diamond Cutter. And he's just like, oh, you do it too? Yeah, dude.
Well, so there was like I don't know if it was a documentary, and he was getting like Razor Ramon and Jake the Snake, and they were all like, you go to, he went to like Jake's house, and it was like, looked kind of like a trap house. It was not good. And you're like, man, this guy's a legend. Like, couldn't barely move. And then DDP gets him like, all right, here, this is what we're going to do. You could do this yoga if you're wheelchair bound. You can do this yoga if you're in a walker.
Yep.
We'll find a way to, get you kind of off your feet. And then, 8 months later or whatever, DDP goes on to the Rogan podcast with Jake the Snake, and then they're just telling these crazy stories about back in wrestling days where like Jake would take everyone's like either steroids or drugs.
Oh my gosh.
And put them in the bag with the snake when they traveled. So they would put him in the bag with the snake, and then like he would go through airport customs, and they'd be like, well, you can check the bag with the snake. Here's the snake, and they would all be like, "Oh, you're good. Go on."
Oh my god!
Jake would take all the drugs and steroids.
Hell yeah,
put it in
dude!
the bag and
Wow, what a loophole!
You're welcome to. And then he was saying like you would only feed the snake like once a week. Type of thing, like that's how you feed these snakes is once a week, and and they would switch them out every month or two or whatever, and then just stories of I don't remember who it was. I think it was Macho Man, where they were in this big match, and the snake was gonna bite Macho Man in the ring, right? And backstage, he was like, "I'm not doing it," and then he's like, "I'm only gonna do it if you do it. Let him bite you now in front of me before we go out in the match." So Jake had to let the snake bite him so that when they did get out in the match, it was okay to get to bite Macho Man.
Oh my god!
But it was a really good Rogan podcast with Jake the Snake, just telling all these crazy stories about touring and do it back in the day when they didn't make any money and there was no health care, and you just kind of fought through it.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're regretting it now.
I know.
But thanks to DDP Yoga. I mean, like it is for like he does do a really good job of communicating like this physical therapy type strength training. It's yoga for jocks.
Okay.
That's what it is. He does it really well. He's got his own names for all the positions and stuff like touchdown,
Nice.
Well, but Diamond Dallas Page got to be in his 50s or 60s, and that guy can stand up and do a complete split in the air with his leg over his head.
Unbelievable.
And you're like, I've never been able to do that.
I've got it. I'll let you try. No, I can't. I'm saying
I've
got DDP Yoga. You can use it. It's really great.
I guess there's an app for it too. Like you can download the app. I tried to get my mom to do it, and she kind of like, man, I'm not doing that.
The earlier videos too are pretty like funny because he means totally well, but he'll say shit like, "Ladies, if you want to like turn back the hands of time, squeeze them."
Right.
Like shit like that.
Yeah, but it's probably so over the top that it's forgiven.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because he means well.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
effective,
Fun,
dude.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I know Mark has a hard out here pretty quick, so I have a list of rapid fire questions.
Oh boy! All right.
That, bass related, nothing too crazy that I do want to get through. If I can find it here, 1 second.
Favorite city?
Oh yeah.
Favorite city in the U.S.
To play or just in general?
in general?
I mean, I gotta still say New York. That's where I was born and
Suck
raised.
up.
I know.
Favorite city to play?
Favorite city to play? Probably Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about Boston?
We just have great shows there. Our even though we're from New York, our fan
Berkeley.
base is
Berkeley's there.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's the Berkeley
There it
thing,
is.
so there's a lot of musicians there,
Yeah.
and just a lot of history there. We've been playing there for a long, long time, and that's just where our fan base kind of first started really accruing.
Yeah.
So all of our Boston shows are just awesome.
That's
Great energy, great turnout, and just great venues. There's great sound at a lot of the venues there where,
Very cool.
sometimes we'll play a great venue, but, great in every other way, but the sound isn't great. But
Yeah.
more often than not, we have great sound
Yeah.
in Boston, yeah.
All right, so I've got the rapid fire questions here. Here we go. Just whatever comes to mind. Active or passive basses?
Active.
Maple or rosewood fretboard?
Rosewood.
Do you have a favorite fretboard material? I think is your Fodera ebony or something like that?
No, it's rosewood, Indian rosewood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite speaker size or like combo speaker setup?
I do the 410s and a tweeter.
Is there a reason for that? Like,
It's the brightness. I mean,
Yeah.
I play the Hartke Amps,
Right.
and I've been playing them for a long time. My sound kind of developed with them,
yeah.
and it was always that configuration that I gravitated towards most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite bass player?
Oh man. See,
Or just give me a top 3-ish or something
okay,
like that.
okay. I mean, Les Claypool still.
All right.
Even though I don't listen to Primus that much anymore, I can't deny
Yeah.
the immense impact that his unorthodox approach had on me. Jonas Hellborg is
Okay.
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, same deal. Absolutely killer player and all the Indian stuff that he did back in the day.
Yeah.
That fusion is like some of my favorite music. So this is another one that a lot of people probably don't know, or some people know him. Do you guys know Panagiotis Andreou?
No.
Played with Jason Lindner for a bit.
Okay.
Greek bass player.
Okay.
Lives in Astoria, Queens.
Yep.
Absolute badass.
Yep. If he's on that level, then
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, he's unbelievable. Yeah,
Alright.
yeah, monster odd time signatures, and he does some of the Indian conical stuff as well in his playing.
That's
and,
cool.
Oh, it's such a badass. Yeah,
Awesome. What was your first stringed instrument?
it was bass.
It was bass.
It was
All right.
bass. It's always been bass.
Do you have a piece of gear you regret getting rid of?
I do. Well, I can't say regret, but I miss it terribly.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a Frankenstein bass built.
Okay.
It was me and my dad kind of did a lot of research and had someone put it together. Bought all the parts. It had a Fender jazz bass neck. It had a Warmoth jazz bass body, badass 2-bridge, Sadowski preamp. I'm forgetting some of the other things. It was like 15, maybe 17 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was such a great sounding bass, and it did this weird thing where, I mean, most people probably wouldn't like this, but around the 12th to the 15th fret, even though it was a fretted bass, it almost had like a fretless kind of growl to it.
Okay.
And I just loved that. It was such a weird anomaly thing that was specifically about this bass.
What color was it?
It was like a dark sunburst, a cherry sunburst kind of color.
Nice.
And I ended up selling it to a student of mine at the time to pay for our first couple months working with a booking agent, because we couldn't draw enough to warrant the booking agent, but they liked us, but they couldn't take us on unless they covered a retainer of $500 a month. So for our first couple months, I sold the space for like $1,100, $1,200, something like that. And I told him, I said, if you ever sell this, tell me first. Give me the opportunity to buy it back.
Yeah.
And so I guess he still has it. He's never contacted me about it. But so I don't regret it, because it got us
Where
started
you
with the
are,
booking
yeah.
agent, and it was, it was a huge positive paradigm shift in our career. But
Sure.
miss that instrument. I think about it all the time.
Hard case or gig bag?
Hard case.
All right.
For flying especially.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any of those
Just sounds
videos.
cumbersome.
I almost had to have some words with the United flight here because they said they were going to have to check it. I was like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's not going to happen.
Got to pull up that article, that like, that amendment.
I know. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you were just able to argue your way out of it type of thing?
Well, what I did was I didn't know this at first, but they only let you have one bag on this particular flight. So I went online and I spent $50 to get economy because they said that you can. Right. It's never been a problem. Any other flight I've had over the last 10 years, never been an issue. International, domestic, whatever. Right. And so I happened to notice it, so I bought that extra little bit. They said you could have a second carry-on. Yeah. So, so I did that, and then when I got there, they said, "Oh, you're gonna have to check that." And I said, "There's no way I can check this. This is a very expensive. It's my whole life is this space. Right. It's no way." And so I walked down, and they talked to some people. What they ended up having to do was walk me by a bunch of people, and they just said, just put it in one of the overheads and then just close it, which meant, don't let anyone see that you're doing that. Yeah. Just close it so people don't say, hey, why is this instrument taking up all the space? 5 or 6 other bags worth of space. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
I'm no stranger to that.
Yeah.
On a Euro tour, we had all the guitars, and we were just like, all right, look, you just beeline, and literally the first in the area, you just the first open one, you just shove them in there.
You do it. Don't make any eye contact with anyone. Just do it like you're supposed to be doing it, and then go sit down. Yeah.
Huh. Well, glad it was turned out well for you.
Me too. Yeah, I was sweating. Oh boy.
Tube or solid state?
Solid state.
All right. Was there a reason for that?
I mean, honestly, it's just what I'm used to. Yeah. I've always played solid state, so stayed that way. Yeah.
Cool. And I know you're a Hartke player. What's your rig?
Right now, I'm using the LH1000.
1000.
Yeah. And the latest high drive 410s.
Okay.
Yeah. Using them for years.
Do you have a favorite pedal?
The Darkglass BK7 Ultra.
All right.
Yeah. I adore that pedal since the second I got it. Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite string brand type?
Mm-hmm. I use the Fodera ones. Mm-hmm. They last a long time. They sound great. And I have the 5 with the high C.
Right.
So I get their light gauge. So the C is like a 0.28. It's like an A string on a guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is stainless or nickel?
It's nickel.
Nickel.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite hardware finish? Black, chrome, gold, stainless?
I actually don't.
I think your bass
I don't have
all black, right?
That one's all black, but that was more just whatever. Yeah. When I got my first Fodera, and I definitely changed my tune a bit after I got it. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't care if this thing is ridiculous looking with whatever. I don't care. I just love your basses. It could look like whatever. You can even pick the wood. No, you should go look at the woods and you should pick it out. And then I went back to their whole area, and I was like, oh my God, these are all beautiful. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
But still, I'm more if it sounds good, it plays well, I'll play it, and I'll be really happy about it, So,
very cool. What is your thought on relict instruments? Do you know what those are?
No, I don't.
You're we had this in a discussion with Mohini Day last months.
I saw that you had her in here, yeah.
She was like, what's a relict instrument?
Yeah.
So in our world, Mark and I, you can buy pre-worn instruments. So they're brand new basses, but they got war spots on them where the finish is worn down. There might be checking on them, and they look like they're anywhere from 5 years old to 100 years old. If you get heavy relics from Fender Custom Shop or Super Relics and stuff like that, and there is at least back when I was in the bass store. It was a love or hate it. People hated the idea of I'm going to spend $5,000 on an instrument that's all beat up and got rusty screws on it.
Yeah.
And then there's people like me and I think Mark who are like, no, man, this just feels good.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about
that's the one right there.
Put an extra nick or ding in it, because I've had I even have a couple instruments now that are pristine condition.
Yeah.
But then once you put that first ding in it or that dent, it's like, oh.
Well, so yeah, I actually have some thoughts on this. So my instrument, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but
There's some wear marks.
It's beat.
Yeah.
It's beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I picked it up from Fodera, they said, be careful with it, but not too careful.
Sure.
And maybe I took the not too careful part a little bit too much to heart. But from my slap bass technique, I keep my fingers underneath the highest string.
Yeah.
I keep it pretty much just like married there.
Yeah.
And so there's a big groove cut out, worn out from years of doing that.
Right.
You know, and when I went in last time, they said, do you want us to fix that up and, you know, keep it for a little bit? And I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's part of you now.
Yeah. Like for me, I look at that as like, you know, those like battle scars,
hours,
you know? Yeah. Like, you know, you bring it around, you practice all your blood, sweat, and tears. That those every single ding means something. You know, that wear and tear, that means something. So I don't know that I'd feel comfortable having an instrument that already had that because it wasn't me that did that.
Sure, I feel
you know,
that.
I do understand wanting an instrument that's worn in for all the benefits of it and the comfortability of it. That does make sense to me.
Not to be afraid to play it anywhere.
Yeah.
That thing too. And also, I mean, I come up, you know, my first brand new instrument I've ever bought, I am currently buying now and having Sarek build me a bass. Every other instrument I've ever owned has been used. It's been pre-owned. So I'm used to playing instruments that are, you know, 5, 10, 20 years old, and they already have that kind of broken feel to it. I do have a Strat that is like a Wormuth Strat that was like a Franken thing that is, you know, on paper it's probably worth $500 or $600, $700. If it said Fender on it, it'd be worth $2,500.
Yeah.
But it's an instrument I will never get rid of because it also has, like, you look at the back of the neck and all the finish is worn off of it because I spent 10,000 plus hours on that guitar and there's nicks and dings all over it, and I will never get rid of it because it, you know, it's my instrument. I put that in. But I am a fan of the relic instruments for that reason of, like, even if it's like a light, because you can get light relics, medium relics, heavy relics, so on and so forth. So even a light relic has still got some dings and nicks and some checking in it. Like, that's enough for me to go like, all right, now I feel comfortable, like Mark said, playing it anywhere, not being afraid to let someone else play it or set it up, lean it up against it and step away. And
beating the cymbals with it.
Yeah, yep. We've all done that.
You know, I've been in metal bands, doing that stuff where, you know, when I'm on stage rocking out, I'm like going hard and hitting cymbals with my thing, and sometimes I'm dropping an instrument on the floor just to like, I'm done. Like you drop your mic, you know, type of thing. So I am all about it, and we're just curious as to what bass players think of relic instruments, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna wrap up here. If somebody wants to get lessons, see what you're doing on tour, where you're going, where would they find all your stuff at?
All right, here we go. So we have, so Instagram is actually like the main way people contact me for lessons.
I'm pulling you up now. John.Ferrara.
Wow, well done.
.bass, B-A-S-S.
F-E-R-R-A-R-A.
Bass.
1 E, 2 A's.
That's right.
Ferrara.
And then Consider the Source. You can find us on Instagram as well.
Right,
we're always active on that.
Consider the Source Music on Instagram. And then there's a link tree to websites, and if you want hot sauce and see the tour dates. And like, where you guys, I'm pulling up your tour dates now. I know like this will come out in another week or so, but so it looks like end of April. Where the hell is Boone, United States?
That's it's actually near Asheville.
Okay.
It's about an hour or two from there.
Okay. And then
cool city.
It looks like you're in Athens, Georgia, I assume, and Atlanta.
Yeah,
coming
420 up. Fest and
423.
Yeah, Athens, Georgia, Sweetwater, Buffalo, New York, Virginia, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Virginia, kind of all over that kind of East Coast area there.
We get around.
Well, anything else, Mark, you can think of?
No.
We've talked about everything.
Anything else you want to mention or plug or chat about?
No, I'm good. I appreciate you guys having me. Fun.
This was awesome. John reached out to me because I didn't realize you guys were coming through, and then just kind of like, hey, let's do this. So thanks so much for coming out. I'll be at the show tonight. And,
Hell yeah.
I wish I could be there. I'm solo dad tonight.
Solo dadding. Yeah. We'll send some hot sauce your way. Give some to him for you.
Please.
You got it. Yeah.
I would like to. I would like to buy. I'll kick some cash over, but I would like to buy one of each.
Yeah.
I'm
Cool,
curious
man.
on the super hot.
Well, listen, I'm going to buy a case. We'll get you a bottle.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. You can like and subscribe and follow us. YouTube, iTunes, all those things. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace. All right. Stop recording.